Hello you guys, here's Patrick from Let's Make Technology. Today I will touch the topic that is pretty close to my heart at the moment. It's a topic related to hiring people. Currently in our company we are looking for software developer, actually senior software developer. And I've gone through the whole definition of how the hiring process should look like. And after looking at what is currently happening in the market, I thought that it would be good to talk a little bit about what are, in my opinion, bad practices in terms of running hiring processes and different things that can happen over those processes. And I will talk about 3 things that, in my opinion, shouldn't happen in professional hiring process. Of course, I will relate to hiring software engineers, but I'm pretty sure that for other roles this will also apply. First thing that in my opinion shouldn't happen, or should happen only in very rare situation, is thing that is currently pretty common across the industry. And it's all about endless hiring processes. And what do I mean by endless hiring processes? I mean those processes that take like 5, 6, 7, sometimes even 8 steps. The whole experience is taking like months, and candidates are just hanging in this vacuum kind of space. They don't know what is happening. They don't know what will be the decision. They don't even know at which stage they are actually. No one also shares how many of those steps will happen in many cases, and I think that this is like pathologic kind of situation in the industry. So whenever you run hiring process, good practice would be to tell your candidate how long it's going to take. And of course it doesn't necessarily has to explicitly say how many days or weeks it's gonna take, but at least how many steps are in the process. And of course, in my opinion, we should follow the KISS rule. So in software engineering, it's keep it simple, stupid. In hiring, keep it short, stupid, right? I don't necessarily believe that having more than like 3 or 4 steps is going to tell you much more. Even in the hiring process that I am currently part of, we decided to go with only 2 steps process. So we go through screening call, and then we've got technical interview, and that's basically it. It's working, at least in my opinion. We can figure out if candidate is possibly cultural fit, and during the screening call we can assess more or less if experience of the candidate fits our current needs in terms of the new role that we want to introduce to the company. And during the technical interview, we can go more in depth into those different kind of areas that are very interesting for us. But with the processes that has like 5, 6, 7 steps, I cannot even imagine what kind of things can we go through. Is it like another second round of the technical interview, then third round? And then going through different levels of the ladder in the organization, like speaking with direct manager, hiring manager, engineering director, CTO, I don't know, CEO. For me, it doesn't make sense. But of course, I can spot some situations where some additional steps might be interesting. But in my opinion, when the whole process is very, very long, it might end up in a situation that we will just basically lose very good candidate, maybe even the top performer at some point in our company. So we should consider that very carefully. Second thing that shouldn't happen in the hiring process is making false promises. And what do I mean by that? I've been a witness of a situation over my career where hiring managers, HR, or different people from the company who are speaking with the particular candidate were so interested into the candidate that they started to tell this candidate some kind of things that shouldn't be said, because basically company cannot make those things happen. And this can be various things. It can be technologies that candidate might be using within the project. It might be tasks that the particular person will be involved into. Maybe some career possibilities within the company that are not in place and are not being planned, and we never know when this will happen. And many other things. I witnessed a situation where one of the candidates was being told that he will be earning after the probation period X amount more than the amount that we are talking about at the moment during the interview call. Of course, for the candidate, it was something that he wanted to hear because that was his expectation, but from the hiring manager perspective, there was nothing that he could promise. So basically, company had some budgets, and the amount of money offered to the candidate was like tops, and after that, after those couple of months, nothing was going to change. So this might be, of course, one of the situation, and making false promises about salary is like something pretty common, of course. But even worse things are whenever you say to your candidate that he will be able to work on something very interesting for him, even though there are like no possibilities in those areas for this candidate within the company, or those possibilities are so limited that he will not even spot that he actually did something regarding the area that he wanted to be involved into, right? So making false promises at the very beginning seems to be, something pretty okay. We'll figure something out later on, right? But for the candidate, whenever he joins the company and then he spots that there is nothing that has been told to that particular candidate, then he gets frustrated more and more over a time, and sooner or later it will end up with this candidate being demotivated, not performing well anymore, and looking for another job. For me, as a manager who is hiring, I don't want to have this kind of situation, because I want to hire someone who will be contributing to the project, who will be happy with the challenges in front of him. So basically, making false promises is always a bad idea, and you should avoid that. And the third thing that I would avoid, and for me is like very unprofessional, is ghosting candidates. So whenever you start a hiring process with a person, you had some first screening calls, you even build a little bit of a relationship with the candidate. Everything for the candidate is going okay, because those steps are moving forward, everything is happening, and at some point you just leave candidate without any feedback, without any information about what is going on. It's something bad, and you need to know that. So whenever you stop communicating with someone, it's highly unprofessional. You should always give at least a heads up to the candidate about what is going on and what is the current status. Of course, you can give this candidate a little bit of a time, and of course yourself a little bit of a time to give the information, but overall it's like your duty as someone who is hiring and someone who is conducting all of those hiring calls and managing the hiring process, because it's basically fair to speak with someone and tell them about their problem. And of course, it doesn't have to be always a call. You can send an email with some points that you think are important for the candidate, some feedback, because also those processes are about learning, in my opinion. So whenever a candidate comes to your hiring process and he can learn something, even though he is not getting a job, this is also a value for the candidate, but you need to conduct that well. If you will decide not to go with any kind of feedback to the candidate, then I totally understand those people who are then writing posts on LinkedIn or any other social media and telling that, this company is not doing the best job because I've gone through, for instance, 3 steps of the process and they ghosted me. And Of course, many of people can say, yeah, but a couple of years ago, when demand for software developers was much higher, software developers were doing that. Of course, but you know what it means? They were basically unprofessional, and you would regret hiring them. And if you are running a company or you are running a team and you want to be professional, it's your duty to tell people where in the hiring process they are, and you shouldn't be ghosting them. And since this is happening more often in our industry than before, let me know in the comment section about your experience with those kind of things. And now we have gone through those 3 things. Okay, we have gone through those 3 things that I don't necessarily think are best practice in terms of hiring, especially software developers. So we need to know that being honest, telling people what is the status of their process, not over-engineering the process, and not making false promises is going to lead us to hiring really good candidates. Even though we've got more people at the market because of a little bit of a different situation than, for instance, in COVID times, we still should think about that those candidates are even more difficult to spot, because now we are being flooded by many CVs of candidates that doesn't fit our profile or job description, and whenever we want to hire someone good, we need to be fairly fast. Of course, we also need to put a lot of effort into evaluating the candidate and making sure he fits our needs, but still, over-engineering of the process might be bad. I hope that this will help you with setting up your future hiring processes, and see you next time.